Konami Studios. Department of Truth, issue number 7. God damn it, Tynan. Why do you do this to me, man? Every time I think you just knock it out of the park with this book, you go in a completely different direction that just changes the way I just see writing as a whole. Like, this is such a poignant and fun book, and I wish I'd wrote it. You know, I hate saying that because every writer should just tell their own story, but reading this, I'm really just like, I want to make this. I wish I made this. It is such a good and cool idea. I am so jealous that I never thought of this idea until now. Oh, it's so good. It's absolutely breathtakingly fun and interesting. I love it. So we are still in the past. Tyler Boss will be doing the art for this issue, as it looks like Walter Simmons is getting caught up on some other stuff. Interesting stuff. So we are back in the past, and we are seeing this book called Resist the Men in Black by Doc Haynes, and we are seeing that this kid is like going through these old files that are all kind of like wrapped up in tinfoil and everything, and he's got some tinfoil on his head, and a young Lee Harvey Oswald comes in, and they get into a conversation like, what's going on with this stuff? Like, what is all this? And Harvey's trying to take his like tinfoil hat off, but the kid's like, no, put it back on my head. I'm not doing this. Please just give me my hat back. And they kind of figure out, okay, I know you're Oswald, so maybe just tell me what the truth is here and why, like, I was told I'd find you crawling around in this library of ancient relics of the world and every book that's ever been true or not and all that stuff. Do they have a name for the library? I can't remember if they had a name for the library in the last issue. But it's like, okay, let's go back in time and tell a story about why this kid, whose name we don't really know, is wearing the hat. So we find out at the end, actually, of the beginning of the end of the beginning of this scene, that the book there, Resist the Men in Black from Doc Haynes, that this kid is actually Doc Haynes. So we cut to the past, and we see that this young kid, when he's 15 years old, he's sitting in a diner, and he's supposed to be meeting this guy that works with a government agency, or somebody outside the government that's kind of a government agency. He's meeting someone from the Department of Truth. They don't really recognize each other because this guy wants to see like a real doctor, and he's like, this is just a kid. Why is a kid here? Why am I talking to a kid? So he doesn't really give him like the time of day, and they kind of get into like, you know, like the don't order a pie, order a slice of pie, you know, just your basic kind of banter stuff. But he's like, all right, kid, I see you might not be as dumb as you look, so I'm going to give you a benefit of the doubt. And we see kind of like why Doc Haynes is wrapping everything up in tinfoil. It's kind of like to hide it from any possible identity that could see through it and stuff. And this kid is smarter than he looks, so he's basically coming up with this idea that, like, since, you know, the atom bomb, since like we, you know, the secret of the atom, and we unlocked everything involving that, weird stuff has been happening around the world. A lot of this is involved with like UFOs and flying saucers. Right up my alley. I like that kind of history. I like that idea. So this book, as much as I love it, it found a way to make me love it even more. So it's just so brilliant that they're playing with all this stuff. So this kid's like, you've read my work then, obviously. You read some of this stuff I've put out. And the guy holds up like, yeah, there Resist the Men in Black. You got this weird theory going around of some stuff that's going out. And you literally sent this to like the press offices of like the Air Force and the FBI and all these places. So why don't you explain what you really think's going on here? And maybe we'll figure out what's truly at work here. So Doc Haynes is like, sure, let me tell you everything I know. And we cut to these beautiful pages that are straight up. These next few pages are like classic vintage science fiction magazines and stories, you know, like the blue inked pen. It looks so classic. Now, I read this on the digital version. And if anybody bought a physical copy of this book, can you please answer this question for me? So I'll put the page up that I'm talking about, where it's like this classic homage to like old school science fiction, amazing story stuff. If you have the physical copy of this book, can you tell me the paper grade they used? If it is like the modern, more glossy paper grade that we use for our modern comic books, or if they use like the thick paper grade of like the little more like beige tint to it that we saw in like the older magazines and comics and storybooks of that time. If you have a physical copy, please let me know, because they did a great job of emulating that if they didn't use that paper. You see like streaks coming through the lines. Not every line is even on the page. It looks great. But basically, Doc Haynes is saying to our government man here, he's like, there's been reports about all this stuff with UFOs and people seeing things. The first one's from 47. This guy saw something in the sky that looked like a flying saucer, and these men showed up to like block out his memory of it. And we're kind of going through the history of all that stuff. 53, another guy saw like an orb in his house that was giving him a headache, and he was like kind of like recording the data of what he felt when he saw it. And then he went out to the movies, and when he came back, all like his information was gone because he felt like he was being watched by these guys in like dark black suits and like these glowing eyes and these disturbing characters. A few years later, another guy does the same thing in his offices. There's like a lot of people that kind of witnessed this one. There's like this immovable object in his office that is like so strong it would take like 2,000 pounds to like push or make an indent on the bookcase. But this man in the suit does do that. And even in 61, we see more stuff happening with this man standing outside, seeing this orb flying overhead. The government or somebody is trying to cover it up. And this kid, Doc Haynes, thinks that it is the Men in Black. Like there's obviously some connection here. It might not be something as powerful or poignant as like an actual government conspiracy, but these people, they've all seen the same thing, so there should be something there that is connecting these things to be true. I mean, it takes one person to figure it out before the world starts to leak into this thing, but the kid's starting to think, I don't think it's like a government thing. There's something else at play here that I don't really understand, so maybe we should try to figure out what that is, what it looks like, and there's something difference between like telling the truth and telling a lie. So maybe all these people are connected through like what they saw. That doesn't mean that the flying saucer or something was real, but the idea of the Men in Black that saw those was the thing that was real. So these people could exist because they were all seeing that. That's what makes it real. And because the government or the FBI can't really explain what they were saying or what they saw, they wanted to blame everything that could be in space that they can't control on the Russians. So instead of being like a UFO from space or some Martian, everything would be from Russia in case we ever had to go to war with them. Again, very cool stuff, very poignant, very interesting. I'm liking that a lot. And this kid, he's got a few interesting messages in his head. He's like, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, this is probably where we're going. Maybe the Men in Black don't exist, but can we really take that chance? Like, they could exist, basically, is what he's saying. And this guy from the Department of Truth's like, well, I expected you to be a dumber kid than what you are, so I'm impressed. I'm going to give you my business card. My name's not on it, but take it. And when all's said and done, give me a call when you figure out some stuff like that. So the guy leaves. The kid starts to ride home. He's headed to his house, and the phone rings. He's getting inside, and suddenly there's like this weird, like ethereal voice in his head, like, you are the doctor that is not a doctor. And this like thing's talking to him, and he's starting to get like a really big headache, and he's starting to sweat, and he's feeling a little bit of off. And there's like some knocks on the door and like some bright lights. He goes inside, and we see that inside his house is one of the Men in Black. And this isn't like a classic government guy in like a suit like you saw in like the Will Smith movie. This is an alien who clearly looks like a Martian wearing a government agency suit. He's like hovering over the floor, but he's just like affecting the kid's mind, trying to stop him from seeing the truth and seeing everything in front of him. And it's pretty creepy and pretty intense. The kid's like, I don't understand. What are you doing to me? And the more that the voice rings inside Doc Haynes' head, he starts to think, well, maybe I don't exist. What is all of this? Everything going on? It's like affecting him and destroying him, literally breaking him down. We see a shot where the Man in Black turns into the one with the crossed out eyes that we've been seeing a bunch of, a character probably from like religious undertones from the Bible or something. And so the reason that Doc Haynes wears the tinfoil hat is because it blocks out the voice of the Men in Black that are trying to find him. So he's worn it ever since. And we cut back to the president, and Lee is like, what the are you talking about? Maybe there's some truth to you after all. So I need you to unwrap all this tinfoil bullshit, everything that you wrote. Unwrap it, uncover it. We're figuring out the truth. You just gave me another conspiracy to look at, kid. Thank you. Like, let's get to work. Okay, come on, let's get this going. And it looks like the start of a beautiful friendship between Lee Harvey Oswald and Doc Haynes. And you're like, that's pretty fun. Pretty cool idea that they're setting up there. They're going to get to work and uncover the greatest mystery. Who are the Men in Black? Why are they on Earth? And what does this have to do with everything else going on in the book? And you're like, Tynan, you son of a gun. You keep surprising me every time with this book, dude. Like every page, every moment, I'm just blown away by what you are creating because it is so perfect and smart and interesting and different than a lot of stuff we are seeing on shelves. And that is like the key factor to me. It's like, I have never read a book like this in comic books. I'm sure there are stuff that is very similar and feels the same, but this is like doing some research, and I understand why he'd want to keep this one close to the chest and not have like, because I know he talked about it before, how like working with Boom Studios, you get like an editor and some proper people working there to help you make your book. But when you're doing Image and this is what you want to do, you don't want people to like alter it in any way. I absolutely get that. Very cool stuff, dude. I'm very blown away by what you are making, what you are writing. It is unique and different and cool. I am obsessed with this book. The flying saucer, the UFO, the tinfoil hat, that is classic conspiracy, and I'm so glad we are entering into that world when it comes to this book. So good, so fun, absolutely breathtaking stuff. So, Department of Truth, issue 7, I am going to give a 10 out of 10. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.